Welcome to Doc's Daily Dose for Dads, prescribed by Dr. Harrison. You know, they say chivalry is dead, and then the question that often follows that is who killed it? Well, I'm not here to answer that second part. Quite frankly, it's not of importance to me. What is important to me, though, is the fact that I have 3 boys, and I will raise them to be chivalrous. Now, I understand that we are living in an everly increasing politically correct world, and people now are often offended by chivalrous acts. And I get it. I get why the offensive nature of it makes people so mad, and that it has an undertone of an assumption of doing something kind of nice for a woman, but specifically because she's a weaker sex. That is offensive. To suggest that I can't do something for myself because I'm a weaker variation of a species, I would be totally offended as well, right? You see it in other parts of characteristics of differences in people, race, age, those type of things. So I understand where it comes from. And I get too that it started about being honorable and respectable and doing something polite and kind for women, especially in the fact that it came from the medieval era where, you know, you had knights riding in on white horses to save the day for a woman who couldn't do it herself. Yeah, totally messed up. I wouldn't want that for myself either as a woman if that was the case. But I had to stop and say, let me go back to the actual definition of chivalry. And I've got it here written down verbatim, so I'm going to read it. Medieval knightly system with religious, moral, and social code. The combination of qualities expected of an ideal knight, especially courage, honor, courtesy, justice, and readiness to help the weak. So it was simply about doing the right thing, about being kind to others, being an honorable human being. So, yeah, I'm going to teach my boys to be chivalrous. I'm going to teach them to do kind and polite things. But here's the thing. It's not just for women. They should be doing kind, polite, and respectful things for everybody, any human being walking on this planet. If you can hold the door for someone coming behind you, hold the door. If you can stop the elevator from shutting as someone's coming running with a bunch of stuff in their hands, hold the elevator. As you walk down the street and cross paths, give someone a head nod, say hello. They're human beings. It's not just about doing these chivalrous acts for women. It's about being chivalrous in general, right? The word only has a negative connotation because of what we've put on it in terms of our social context. But if you go back to the definition of the word, you're talking about just doing honorable and courageous things. And for my kids, I want them to know it's okay to be chivalrous, but do it for everyone. Now, what I personally hate with respect to chivalry is when I do something polite, I don't get a thank you in return. If I hold the door for you, say thank you, because if you don't, I will make you aware that you didn't say thank you. I will blurt out, "You're welcome," and make sure you heard it. And what I hate even more is if my young child does something like hold the door open for you, stop the elevator, say hi, and you then don't say anything, I will make it blatantly clear. I will say, "Oh, son, I'm sorry. He must not have heard you. He must be having a bad day, bad enough to where he can't say thank you to a little boy." I don't care what's going on in your mind at that time. Stop and be aware that someone's doing something nice for you. And again, not just for a woman, but for a man, for a child, for an elder, for a peer. Doesn't matter. Be polite, kind, honorable, and respectable. That's what I want for my boys. Now, if you are offended by this, I can't tell you to stop being offended, right? There's so many analogous situations in which you could reverse that on me, especially as a black male, and be like, stop being offended by this. But what I can tell you to do is, if you are offended, stop giving a 50-page lecture with PowerPoint slides. Just simply say, I'd prefer if you didn't open the door for me. I'd prefer if you didn't pull the seat out. I will help pick up the tab. And I'll say, okay, fine, fair enough. And I will respect that. Now, if I ask you why, then you can go into your PowerPoint presentation. But here's the funny thing that everyone I think misses. If you tell me, you know what, I'd really prefer that you didn't hold the door open for me, I can do that myself. And I say, okay, no problem. I respect your wishes and I stop holding the door open for you. Guess what? That's a chivalrous act because I've heard you, I've listened, I've made sure to follow through with your wishes and your requests, and I'm being respectable, I'm being honorable, and I'm focusing on what you want as a human being. I'm caring about you. That is chivalry. So any way you slice it, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going to teach my boys to do. So, again, think about the original notion of why it was taught or what it was all about. And if you are offended, just say no thank you. And realize too that if they adhere to your request of stop doing it, that's also chivalry. It really, really is when you look at it from a fundamental level of the definition. But if you keep squashing it and if you keep pounding it into people's heads that you just can't do this stuff anymore, no, you know what's going to happen? You're not going to get a lot of polite adults. Forget about it being towards women, just towards people in general. People are going to be so afraid to do anything because people are so offended about everything that people won't do anything. They'll just stop. They won't help. They won't speak to each other. They won't smile. Everybody will be suspicious. Everybody will have a frown and an ugly face on all day. It's okay to do something polite for someone else, especially if you're doing it under the guise of you're a human being and you are in my same space, so I'm going to treat you like one. Not under the guise of you're a weaker person than me, so I'm going to help. That's not what it's about. That's not what I'm teaching my boys for it to be about. I'm teaching them to be about respect, honor, courage, justice. Just being polite, being kind and caring, regardless of gender, regardless of age, sexual orientation. It doesn't matter. It's another human being who's next to you in your same space. Treat them the way that you would want to be treated. And me personally, I appreciate it when someone holds the door open for me. I appreciate it when someone offers to pick up the tab, right? Because that's the other thing. A lot of times, it may have nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman or anything like that. It may simply be the way I'm teaching my boys. If you invite a friend to lunch, if you hold a business meeting and you've called it for the lunch, if you're going out with your mom to take her for lunch, or me, or anyone else, and you're the one who invites, you pick up the tab or at least offer. And if they say, no, I'll split it, then fine, let them split it. But that's your responsibility for being the one who invited people. Not because this person's a woman at all. So the other thing is, if it really, really bothers you, I would suggest taking ownership of it. You start doing the chivalrous acts. See if people feel the same offense that you feel. The funny thing is, I wonder if you would actually feel pretty good about yourself for doing chivalrous acts towards another person, regardless of whether they're male or female. Just being polite and kind. Now, I hope people understand the sentiment of this video, of it not being specifically geared towards women, which is what chivalry has now been focused on. It's simply about courage, honor, and respect. And you know what? If you do have a daughter, or if you are someone who's easily offended by chivalry, especially if you are a woman, the one thing I would say is, I hope you're okay with the fact that when my son shows up to take your daughter to prom, I've taught him to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am to you. I've taught him to bring her corsage. I've taught him to open the door for her, to treat her like a queen that day, to offer to pick up the tab for dinner before prom. Now, whatever you teach your daughter to respond with that, that's your choice. But I hope you're okay with my son trying to treat your daughter with complete respect and dignity. Because being chivalrous is not eliminating dignity or respect. unless you take it in that perspective, which is not the perspective I'm teaching my boys. I'm teaching my boys to be kind, caring human beings. All right, that's Doc's Daily Dose for Dads. Don't forget to hashtag Doc's Daily Dose for Dads, hashtag 4D, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, all social media at rebirthbx. I'll get at you guys tomorrow. I'm going to go do something nice for the first human being I see.